Hey there, this morning we're going to talk a little bit about tau color schemes and how to compose them and how to pick a color scheme. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to be useful for anybody. First off, I realize the sound quality isn't that great. Let's head on over to the Warhammer 40K site, or the games-workshop.com site. And we're going to go to the Warhammer 40K section, and we're going to go to Xenos, which is all the aliens, and we're going to go Tau Empire. And here we go. All right, perfect. You know what? Commander Farsight. That's a great place to start. Even the basic grunts, the fire warriors, the foot soldiers, they follow this same basic composition. You've got the armor, you have an under area, and in the case of the fire warriors, that's cloth. We'll take a look at those guys in a second. And then you have a secondary color that you use for different panels and stuff like that. And then a third item that appears on, I think, every Tau model out there is this little sort of bolt-in screw thing. And this is really a great chance for an accent color. And if you look on this guy, you'll see he's got it on his weapon, got it on his shoulder pads, and so it creates sort of a balance of that accent color, and it's there. And if you really want to look at it, this is really yellow. And I often will paint these in non-metallics like ochre browns and ochre yellows. Red armor works really great. I would recommend doing a black prime, a red overspray, like a rust red overspray to get a two-tone, and then go in on these under areas and, a 360. Go in on these under areas and dry brush them gray. The problem there is, of course, you'll have gray and you'll have the rust red overspray, which creates like a two-tone showing through. But once you put on a heavy black wash onto those areas, that will disappear. However, really, you might consider just priming them black and then hand painting on this red on the top. However, you can't just pick red and do it. You like right on top of the black, because then you have to put on like 4 layers of red and then your highlights on top of that. So what you want to do, excuse me, I need to take a sip of water. What you're going to want to do is put on an interim color like Vallejo Hull Red, and that will basically, and then you can put the regular red on top of that. And of course you should do a ghost brush of a light color, typically gray or an ivory like Vallejo Pale Sand. Now let's take a look at these guys. These are in the white color scheme, and these do the opposite. They have a dark, very dark undertone. Well, no, it's actually not the opposite. They make these under areas black, and that is basically a really good color because for that area, because you've got to create a contrast. In this case, black and white, that's about as contrasty as you can get. And you notice the accent color here is red and this pale blue, which works. But this color scheme is really, really, really hard to get, especially if you want this beat up appearance, which you get by sponging on colors. They probably do it by hand, but sponging is definitely the better way to do that. Hey, let's go find some fire warriors. These are the basic troops. Why don't they just automatically make it view all? Fire warriors. All right, here we go. Now, fire warriors have the exact same composition as the battle suits. They've got this black undersuit here. Now, you can achieve that by simply priming black, and then you just do a focused dry brush on these cloth areas. And I wouldn't go too light with it because you don't really want that area to stand out. And so on these higher areas, it's to get the red armor, you're going to put on hull red, gore red, and then you're going to do like a vermilion or a carmine, like a true red, as a dry brush on top of it, and you're going to end up with a really cool looking effect. But you notice they're using the same color scheme on all these: red, white, black. And it's a very striking color scheme on anything. On tau, you see it a lot. You see those three colors on there. And basically, in terms of fields, this is obviously painted to box art quality. And that's not what we usually do here at Blue Table Painting. We're several exponents down on the scale to a tabletop, what we call level 3. And that is a very basic color scheme, but looks really good on the tabletop. And of course, you have an inch tall guy blown up to 5 inches on your computer screen, and you can see every last detail. But anyway, in terms of fields, you have the cloth, the armor, the gun can be a completely separate thing. You can dark wash black on that and just get like a black gun, or you can just choose some different color for it. Just make sure it contrasts with the rest of it. You can also pick out a panel, and that's certainly needed for a level 3 figure. You can't just make the gun one giant thing. That's a rookie mistake I see, where the gun is just like silver all the way from stem to stern. No, not even on the lowest level should you have that. And then you notice this little sort of screw thing, this bulb. That is an opportunity to add like a little point. I also usually paint, see the tips of these guns, I'll paint that a color, or add a color here on this marker light type looking thing there. And yeah, you just got to have your 3 basic colors and then an accent color. Let's go to Blue Table Painting's Flickr, and we'll go ahead and search for tau. Go to the albums, search for tau, it's coming. View all 20. Oh, I'm surprised there's not more. There really should be more. So here we go. Here is a typical color scheme that we'll do. Now this has these patches of like camo on it. Don't do that. It's unnecessarily complicated. But you see the red here? That's the red that I'm talking about. It's very striking. It's very easy to do. This is a black prime, a rust red overspray, and then it has basically a very heavy overbrush of a regular red on top of the other areas. Now, if you want a different color, if you want like green or whatever, you can actually put on a color, like a spray color on top, and just paint it entirely a color. And then of course you re-blacken in all these areas. You paint them solid, put a wash or a dry brush on them, and presto, you are ready to go. In some cases, the hatches in back will open, and for a lower level paint job, we just glue those shut. For a higher level one, or if we're feeling inspired, that hatch can open. If it does open, you do need to put on like a black, hand-painted black prime. You mix sealer with black paint, and make sure that gets matte coated too, because it will be a little glossy from the sealer. And you just give it a dry brush, and that makes for a nice feature, that back hatch opening. Let's go back to another album. Okay, the back button is just going back one picture. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at, I don't know if this will be right. This is another example of that red color scheme. This has some freehand on it. And so this is very much a brighter red. This was probably sprayed on, and then the deep areas, the sort of substrate, those were done black and then dry brushed up again. I really should open his new tab. Let's Jungle Towel. No, I don't think that's what we want. I'm just surprised. Here's red again. You can do white armor. You could do blue. Blue doesn't actually look that good on these guys. Some kind of camo green looks really good on tau. Yeah, this is that red, white, black. This has a lot of gray in it, which I think looks really good. Let's look at these Fire Warriors. And so again, it's the red armor and then just some areas picked out. The gun has a lot of differentiation on it. It has this dark gray, has a white panel. which I think looks really nice. And also the sides of the shoulder pads, the very tips here, that last panel, you can add a color onto that to make them stand out. And what else? Let's take a look at some white towel here. And this is, you would still prime these black and then you would put matte white primer on top of them. Make sure that it's matte, that it's a flat color. Oop, that's not loading very well. And oh, here's blue. This actually isn't bad. I said blue wasn't great, but it can be really good. Oh yeah, here's just a single figure. And this is actually pretty simple. Again, black or charcoal gray on the under areas, then the armor, which is white in this case. This definitely looks hand painted on, which I think looks really cool. And then just a little bit of OSL in these energy pods. That looks pretty good. Very simple. This blue, yeah, this actually worked really good. But again, you've got white, black, gray, and then of course your primary color. This has been completely painted. This is probably black prime with just the colors physically put on top of it. And if your paint has high opacity, you can definitely get away with doing that. But white on black, that's definitely tough. You got to put a lot of layers on that. And all right, that's my comments about tau coloration and composition. I hope you have enjoyed and got your inspiration for the day.